Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Spiritual Spiral. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Of course, I'm your host, Sam Davidson, and my co-host, Sari Cohen here. Good morning, Sarah. It's a little early for you.
The sun is just rising over here. Yes.
Well, we are so thrilled, you guys, because we have such an interesting guy on our show this week, you guys. His name is Pete Martocci, and he's a shaman, a medium, a healer, and his Instagram is one of the most fascinating things I've seen in a really long time. So thank you for joining us, Pete.
Thank you for having me.
So first, I love your Instagram because most of it is just this spiritual work, and then you're also this like normal family man. And it's fascinating to me. How did you get into this line of work, and how long have you been doing it for?
Well, I opened up when I was a kid. I had a couple experiences that kind of like shook me, and I blocked it for a long time. And then in my 20s, my grandma passed away, and I had a lot of significant visitations from her, and I started feeling her in spirit, and I have a significant moment, if you want me to share that,
Yeah,
where,
definitely.
so in my 20s, she passed, and she was like the matriarch of my family, and my mom was having a really tough time, and a friend of a friend was a medium, and she calls us and tells us all this stuff that nobody knew except my family, and she says, if you see a dime on the ground, that's my grandmother saying hello. And if you feel a cold chill, that's her giving you a hug. And so my mom's talking to this lady. She gets off the phone. She's crying. And at the time, I lived upstairs with my parents. And my TV just turns on, like blasting.
wow.
And me and my mom both look at each other. And I'm like, and it was static, which always stuck with me. It wasn't like an actual show. It was just like pure like blasting static. So we go upstairs and I open my room and there's two dimes on the floor. And I get this cold chill through my whole body, and I just started crying because it was so overwhelming. And then the phone rings, and it's my grandma's cell phone on the caller ID.
Oh, hell no. How did that happen?
That's what I thought. And I answered, and it was just static. Yeah, and then I would see dimes everywhere. I mean, like in the soap dish in my shower, there would be a dime, and I would be like, "How did this get here?" Even the house I live in now, when I was looking to buy a house, I couldn't find a house I really liked. And I pulled up to this house, and I got a cold chill, and I felt my grandmother, and I walked into the door, and in the molding of a piece of wood was a dime, like shellacked in. And I was like, this is a sign, obviously.
Yeah.
And I wound up, it's funny, I wound up like getting the house for less than the highest bidder. It's just like she liked me and she gave me the house.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
But yeah, that whole experience kind of shifted my reality. And then I met a medium, like coincidentally, and as soon as I met her, she knew my name. She said, "Your grandmother's been waiting for you to meet me." And then at that moment, I actually felt somebody standing next to me, and that's when I really like became like really aware of, but it just kind of unfolded from there through synchronistic like journey. I would meet mediums or shaman. I met like a Lakota medicine man, and he invited me up to his like house to learn things, and it just like unfolded naturally.
So I really want to hear more about shamanism and how you went down that avenue, and explain to people a little bit more about what that actually entails.
So again, a friend actually bought me a gift certificate to a shaman, and so shamanism is they believe there's three realms, and you use the drum or a rattle to alter your mind state to journey to those three realms. Your brain has four major states. It's beta, alpha, theta, and delta. So beta is like being active. You know, you're gardening, you're moving your body around, you're focused. Alpha is like when you watch TV. So you're aware, but you're kind of like in a sedated state.
Mm-hmm.
And theta is like meditation, and delta is like sleep. So they find that any repetitive sound, it doesn't have to necessarily be a drum or a rattle. It could be like when you're riding a train or something like that, and it puts you into an altered state, which allows you to be more sensitive and more aware. So where was I? Oh, so anyway, a friend sent me to the shaman, and I went in there and I did my first journey, and I had this like experience of this like Greek god shooting arrows at me, and it was a very intense like visualization. Like I still remember it to this day. And there was people. This Greek god was shooting me with arrows, and I died. And these people were dancing around me. And I came back from the journey with the shaman, and she said, she asked me what I noticed and everything. And she's like, she told me that that's like an archetypical initiation, that I've been a shaman in another life, and that's what I'm here to do now. And I'm also what's called a psychopomp, which is you help people pass into the afterlife.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I was like, it just opened up. Like, I don't know.
So as far as the shaman work, because what so many people associate with it, which I think is interesting too, is taking ayahuasca and like going on that journey. Is that what you do as a shaman, or do you not do that part?
I could share. I've done plant medicine once.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to share the story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please do.
So, when I was younger, I was always into occult and different things, and so I wanted to do mushrooms. I did mushrooms in a spiritual aspect. Like I had my altar, and I put the mushrooms there for like a month. I would do all this stuff, and I did them, and it was a very rough experience. It probably took me 6 months to get over. I had like an ego death, and I just it was tough. It took a while for me to digest it, and that was like probably in my 20s. So I was kind of always scared after that to do them again. And it just so happened a friend of mine, he's actually a psychotherapist. He does plant medicine, and he was trying to get me to go. We talked about it a lot because he loves it. And I was like, no way, I'm so scared. Like, I don't want to have that experience again. And one day I'm just meditating, and I see this lady in my mind's eye. And I know she's not dead. I just feel her energy. And she tells me, tell John, who's my friend, to take you to come see me. And I was like, okay. So I described the lady to him. I text him. I described the lady, everything, what she said. And he sends me a picture, and he's like, is this her? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly who I saw. And he's like, oh, she's the shaman that runs the group that I go to. And I was like, oh, wow. And even with that, I was still pretty scared. I was like, oh, I'm not, it's still too much. And I actually, my son was like 5 months old at the time, and I was just like, oh, I can't do it. And my wife supports me, whatever crazy trip I want to do. And so I'm driving in my car, and I say to the universe, I say, if I'm supposed to go there, give me a sign. Like, really give me a sign. So a side story is one of my healing guides is Padre Pio. And a friend, when I was a kid, he gave me, they used to give, I don't know if you're familiar with Padre Pio, but he's like an Italian saint who heals people. And he's famous because he had stigmata. He had like, yeah, so he's like one of my healing guides. And after I said to the universe, show me a sign, my wife texted me that she cleaned out my change jar, and at the bottom was a Padre Pio coin that I was missing for like 10 years that somebody gave me.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, I guess it's time to go.
So what happened when you went and met this woman?
It was, you know, it's like a 2-day thing. It's at a like place, and you know, the first trip wasn't anything that intense. I mean, I'll share it. It was just that I became like this silver light, and I went up, and I felt formless. And then I saw, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Totally.
So I see a scene from Kung Fu Panda, and it's about, he opens the dragon scroll, and there's like the mirror, and it's like that. The message was that like, you are perfect. Like, I'm always like, feel like I'm searching for more, especially spiritually. Like, I'm always, and the message I got from was that like, you are the dragon warrior, or you are the, you know, you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And you know, that was cool. It wasn't like that crazy. And I was like, oh, you know, I don't know what everyone's talking about. Like, this, you know, it wasn't that bad. And then the second day is what's really considered the initiation. And that was like a whole nother world. You know, as soon as I did it, I was in another dimension, and I met what I thought was God, and he kind of explained things to me. He just said that, you know, this is all about experience, and that we go through these cycles of life and death. And I felt my grandmother pull me out of my body, and I felt like it was what it was like to die. And then, you know, which was intense. And then
Yeah.
I asked him, you know, what's outside this cycle of life and death and experience, and he told me it's to be with him. And I was in this like bliss state, and I was with him, and I was like, yeah, but I don't want to be here. Like, I'm not ready to die. Like, I love my life. And then I got this like revelation of what like deja vu is, which I feel like is, he explained to me that like, when you die, you're with him, and you're outside of time. And when you're alive, you remember, like, when you have significant moments, it like clicks in your head that your soul remembers observing this moment.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I said, I don't want to be here. Like, I want to live. I want to be in life. And as soon as I said that, I like shot down into my body, and I felt this like, I saw Jesus and Krishna, and I felt this like energy just like shoot into my heart. And I looked around the room, because it's a group setting, and everybody had like the same light in their chest, and it just made me, you know, it made me realize that we're all like one super consciousness kind of experiencing itself on different physical levels.
That's fascinating.
Wow. Do you think that experience is what allows you to help people transition over?
I don't think it's necessarily that experience, but I think it definitely helps.
Yeah.
I think just, I don't know, I just never really was afraid of death. I never really cried at funerals. I actually feel happy sometimes when I'm at wakes,
Wow.
as surprising as that is.
Oh my gosh, please share some of that, because I feel like, and I'll get personal with you, that to me is probably, I don't know, my biggest obstacle in life, or it's something that I feel like a lot of us walk around with. What is your secret? What is it about it that allows you to be able to process the way that you do?
I don't know. I feel like it was just how, like, it's just how I am. I don't, like, you know, I've seen people die. I've seen people get sick.
Mhm.
I've seen people, you know, I had friends who were young, who killed themselves and stuff like that. And it kind of, you know, maybe at some point I was like desensitized to it. And then I witnessed my aunt had like stage 4 cancer, and she went through hospice, and I held her hand as she passed, and that kind of, I felt her transition and like the shift of her energy, and it just made me realize like there's peace after death. Like, so what are we so afraid of, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like the ego death is the big thing, because it's like, what do you really hold? What people are afraid because they're holding on to their ego. Like they think they have to be here for some purpose, or they have to do something, or, you know, it's always, especially as a man, I think like we're taught to be like, to leave like almost a legacy, or, you know, but really, you know, we're all special, but nobody's special in a sense, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And, I know you said you do some work about helping people cross over, and on your website, you call it compassionate depossession. Like, what does that mean? How do you do that?
Okay. So that, back to that same shaman lady that I worked with, the first journey was, how I told you I met that guy who shot me, and psychopomp and all this stuff. So that was the upper realm. So the upper realm in shamanism is where your gods, goddesses, angels, any higher vibrational beings. The middle realm is what's considered like the spiritual, energetic of our realm. So like, say you want to journey to the spirit of your house or your land, you journey to the middle realm. It also tells you, the middle realm also tells you what's going on with you if you look at yourself in the middle realm. So the next journey we did to the middle realm, and as soon as I closed my eyes and she started drumming, I saw this person, this being, and I'll never forget, because he looked like Nosferatu from the old vampire movies.
Yeah.
And he had all these like lights around his body, and he stayed in my mind's eye, and he took over that space the whole time she drummed. And I came back and I was like, what was that? And she was like, did you see him? And I'm like, yeah, I definitely saw him. And she's like, you have what's called a spiritual attachment. And she said that his purpose was to kind of teach me what I'm here to do. She said, so I'm going to teach you how to remove him. So I was like, at the time, I was getting into mediumship. Like, I knew I was getting mentored in mediumship, and that's all really I knew. I knew like energy and stuff like that. But when she said that, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Now it's normal, but back then I thought it was like the weirdest thing possible.
Mm-hmm.
So she told me she's going to work with her guide and remove him. So as soon as she said it, I just felt like this energy, like on my body, just like hanging there. And before I went to her, I felt like a little drained and just off, nothing major. And so she starts doing her work, and I feel like this being is being pulled out of my body, and I feel it, and I'm like sitting there, and she's acting like it's normal, but I'm like freaking out.
Wow.
And yeah, and it just comes out, and I felt this whole shift. Like I felt better, I felt lighter, and I was just like, "What's that all about?" And she's like, this is the way the world works. People aren't aware of it, but there's energetic from spirits to. She always taught me that like thought patterns can create attachments where like if you have a repetitive negative thought, you can put like a energy block on your system.
Yep.
And that's the same thing. And yeah, and then from there, I started getting initiated into that, and I would have to deal with that. And most of the clients I would see, that would be their issue.
Wow.
So this was a negative entity that had like been with you for what, your whole life, or you don't know?
She said it was more of initiation. Like he was put there to help initiate me.
But then he didn't leave.
No, he left after she got.
Oh, after
like,
she.
Like
Yeah.
I was supposed to have that experience with her. Like he was there to teach me.
So do like most, I mean, hopefully not most people, but just normal people, I mean, do they have kind of, do you think like negative entities attached to them that they don't know about, or that was just part of your experience doing like the shaman initiation thing?
I mean, from what I see, I would say out of 10 clients, maybe one person has it. Usually, people, they're attracted to different, I don't want to say weaknesses, but, people who drink, people who do drugs, they're more likely to have it. Just, repetitive negative fear and stuff like that. You can attract things. Sometimes where you live, just different things, your property, your land, if I've done house clearings too. It's it could be a whole gamut of things.
What do you feel like when you do a clearing like that? I mean, is it draining on you?
No, I mean, I always try to feel like, I'm not doing the work. It has nothing to do with me. The spiritual realm is doing it. Really, I'm really just holding the space for them to do the work, and that's, So I don't feel. If anything, I feel uplifted.
Wow.
Because usually the person feels better, and I feel better.
So you just really see yourself as like a conduit, helping people in this realm, and then people in the other realm are trying to help them, and you're like the middleman, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, actually, the Lakota medicine man always taught me like that you should be a hollow bone. That's like the phrase they use. Is like the more you let yourself out of the situation and just allow it to like flow through you, the more it works. When you put your ego into it, or you try to say you're doing it, or it kind of slows the process down.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because it sounds like every area of your life that you were able to develop, it kind of one thing led you into another, whether it was the shamanism or your mediumship. Is there any one particular area of your life that you feel most attached to, like something that feels like your natural calling?
I like teaching.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the biggest misconceptions with all this is that everything is a gift or people are special. I think like anything in life, some people are more talented than others, but everyone could talk to the spirit. You just have to kind of understand
Mm-hmm.
your, the language and what like I always tell people that, spirit could be talking to you right now and you're just not aware of them coming through.
Yeah.
I always looked at it almost like radio waves, there's you can't see it, but you can feel it, it exists. To me, it's something like when you were talking about the television, white noise, I feel like is something that I've always tapped into, that for whatever reason, being around white noise seems to make me a little bit more sensitive to whatever energy is out there.
Yeah, I mean, uh, it, you see the movies and shows and TV, and like people think like they're supposed to have this like grand experience of spirits talking to you, but really it's you know, it, I like I always teach people, like, if I tell you to picture an apple in your head, right,
Mm-hmm.
and can you see the apple? If I ask you,
Sure.
so that's where they go. That's where they communicate. Or if I ask you to feel, I'm more of a feeler, like I feel things. Um, if I ask you to feel like a wet sponge in your head,
Mm-hmm.
feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if I'm teaching someone the basics, I tell them to, feel that space out. Maybe even talk yourself around that space, and then all you do is really set an intention for a spirit to come to you, and you just sit and stay in that space, and they'll talk. Your spirit, your family wants to talk to you. They always.
One of my biggest like confusions about what you're talking about, and imagining the apple and imagining the sponge, and then it's like, because I have a very creative imagination, like mind. I mean, my dreams are so freaking weird, and I think sometimes they're symbolic, but sometimes I'm just like, you ate too late last night, like this makes no sense. So it's like when I try to tune in and really imagine things, hear things, see people, I have a hard time deciphering like what part of my brain is the storyteller brain, like coming up with characters and things I want to see or hear, versus like what's actually there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been around world class mediums. Like my mentor travels the world to do mediumship, and I've been with a housewife who's trying to talk to her mom, and there's all those different levels. But um, to me, the biggest difference between them is not just the sensitivity; it's the trust and the knowing of like when spirit's talking to you and when they're not, and that just is in time to me from what I'm aware of, because the more you're always going to question it. I remember starting out because it was so weird. I was doing my mentor actually set up like readings for me to practice, and I was sitting with this lady and I was getting a spirit, and the person actually died by falling through like an escalator.
Oh God.
And I saw like the escalator and I heard her say it, and I was like, there's no way this is right. This has to be like my mind like making this up. And I told the lady, and she was like, nobody ever said that before. And I was like, I had to say it because I kept getting it. It's just the learning the level of trust, and I think it's just practice. And it's like you said, you think sometimes your dreams are these deep symbols, or maybe it's just what you ate. Like, it's always your intention. So if your intention, like, dreams are big for me. I use them a lot. Like, before I go to bed, I set the intention. If like somebody needs to talk to me or I need a message, come through my dreams. So I never dismiss it, even if it's something weird. And I always Google. People Google is everything, because you can just Google like, what does this dream mean? And it's easy.
Yeah.
I'm a big dream person as well. And I've learned that you can definitely feel the difference between something that you might want to hear or something that your subconscious is working through compared to some kind of, energy or spirit. I mean, you could literally feel it through your body, that energy. That's yeah. Yeah, dreams are a big conduit, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned symbols, like a lot on your Instagram, you talk about different animals specifically and what they symbolize. So can you tell me a little bit about, like, is there a word for that? With the animals and what they symbolize, what kind of teachings is that from? And what are some big symbols that, like, you see or use a lot as far as animals?
As far as animals, I actually have my kids' animal totem. You usually have an animal totem that follows you your whole life, and that kind of sets the tone for your life. I actually have my kids' animal totems tattooed on my leg.
Oh,
But yeah, no, I mean it's all cross culture. There's different symbols for different, Native American cultures. Um, specifically for me, like the owl is like somebody who has always followed me around, and it's interesting because I was always obsessed with owls. Like my whole family knows I'm obsessed with them. Like they've given me sculptures of owls for birthday presents and stuff. And I later found out that a lot of alien research and stuff connects alien visitations to owls. Like
yeah, like what I know of owls is, have you ever seen the TV show Twin Peaks?
I've never watched it, but I've always been pulled to it.
Yeah, it's a really crazy show, and at the end of the day, they don't tell you if it's aliens or what. I always thought the whole show was like about aliens, and everyone's like, "You're crazy," but I was like, "No, look at the symbolism, and there's owls everywhere, and like all of these kind of symbols towards extraterrestrials. So how are owls connected to aliens?"
There's like a big correlation. I'm not sure there's actually a guy who wrote a book, and I was actually listening to the podcast recently. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but a lot of people who report being abducted or having extraterrestrial experiences report seeing an owl before it happens.
Mm.
So that's pretty weird saying. And I mean, if you really want to get weird, have you ever heard of what's her name? Quantum healing. It's Dolores Cannon.
I feel like I've heard of it. I don't really know what it is.
No, but that sounds like that's right up my alley.
So Dolores Cannon, she's passed now, but she was a past life regressionist, and she, documented all the stuff that happened with her. But through her career, she started getting clients reporting that they weren't from here in a past life. They lived on another planet or different time, whatever. And she wrote all these books. I knew nothing about that at the time. A friend of mine who I worked with in a spiritualist church was learning her techniques and all that stuff. So she wanted to practice on me. So as soon as we go into the past life, the first life that comes up to me, I was like this purple crystal being. And yeah, it gets weirder though. So after that, we go through this life where I was this purple crystal being, and I started crying during it and everything. I came down and wanted to be a shaman, and like it was like I came down from space to Earth, and I helped these people like learn how to like heal and medicine and all that stuff. And then the next life, I was Benjamin Franklin. So, which is weird, and I was like, I don't know. And I knew all these things about his life and how he died, and I never knew anything about Benjamin Franklin. But in Dolores Cannon's books, I come back and the lady was telling me, in Dolores Cannon's books, she talks about people having like famous leaders or whatever, like imported into their soul memory, so they know what it's like to be human before they become human.
That makes, I don't know, oddly, that makes more sense to me than you being Benjamin Franklin. You know, like Sari and I have had like several past life regression people on the show, and you know, it's kind of hard for us to be like, wait, you weren't Anne Frank in a past life. You know, I mean, come on, like I don't know. But you know, the whole like extraterrestrial thing, I've actually been considering having someone on to like talk about that a little bit, because I've listened to so many podcasts about spirituality and this and that, and aliens have always interested me. We all know that like there has to be some other kind of life force out there, but my question always has been, because a lot of the podcasts I listen to, books, somehow tie spirituality and the afterlife or something with extraterrestrials, and I don't know like what that connection would be at all. But you know, why do you think they kind of pop up, and that, you know, we share, like we have a choice to go in this life or, you know, as up there? I mean, it's just very confusing to me to wrap my head around.
Well, I mean, if you like, I've kind of been into everything. You know, like agnostic teachings, which is like before Jesus, and they talk about like there's a God and then there's an above God, and that, you know, and then that kind of connects to like almost like a simulation theory, like maybe we're in some alien simulation that, you know, we're evolving through. And I mean, that's the connection I always made, like maybe like, because you got to figure if there is aliens, and you know, look at how much our technology has shifted in 100 years. Say they're 1,000 years ahead of us, we probably wouldn't even be able to comprehend where they're at. Or you know, and then say what if they're 1,000,000 years ahead of us? Like, you know,
yeah, like
I be around us right now.
I mean, I know I heard somewhere that like if like a certain planet would look down onto Earth, you know, through a telescope or whatever, they would be seeing dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like that's like legit, you know, with light years and stuff. I mean, that is just completely, I don't know, it blows my mind. And I think last night I was thinking about this for some reason. There's a movie called The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, and it's basically, you know, have you seen it yet? And I was thinking, what if like we are the Truman Show to aliens? Like I was getting real deep or something last night and creative. I don't know what I was coming up with.
Well, I mean, I think like a lot of these feelings and stuff are manifesting in a way because in reality we know that we are more than this physical body. And you know, even if you go back to universal consciousness, which is like that we're all one being, in a sense we are the Truman Show, because we are one person and everyone's watching us, you know. So it's like all these manifestations, I feel, are just the realization that like our soul knows there's like something else going on here. It's not like what we're programmed to think. You know, and that's, I think people just come up with these theories because they know that there's like obviously something else going on.
Yeah. Maybe it's not for us to understand. I mean, I think that's kind of part of our journey is everybody's trying to put their finger or define it, but I feel like that's part of it for us. That's part of our lesson, is we're not supposed to know. We just know that there is something grander, something greater than us.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like if it is infinite, there's really infinite possibility of, you know, everything manifesting in a certain way. You know, there's always going to be a new theory of like what's going on, because as our ideas grow, we manifest more ideas. So,
well, in that sense of the idea, I want to know your opinions about this year, 2020, and everything that has happened. First of all, before this all started, quarantine and all that, what did you feel? Did you feel something in your gut? Did you see something? Did you know something weird was going to happen?
I mean, I gotta be honest, and this may sound shitty, but I feel like this has been the best year for me personally. It really has. I feel better than I've ever had, which is maybe outside the box, but like, my financial's been better. Like everything. I mean, life has been good. Like I'm shifting. I feel like it definitely. I haven't missed a day of work because of my regular career. I drill tunnels underground. We haven't missed a day. And my spiritual work, like I'm transitioning to doing it full time. It's been really good. Like life has been really good. And I was only off for 2 weeks, and that was like the best 2 weeks. Like I really got time to like focus on my family. And, I think it's teaching people to like also say what's on their mind and speak their mind, which is a big thing. I have like a couple. I feel like I'm always working on myself and what's going on with me, and it made me realize like I should really speak up about things that were like I was sitting on for a long time. And all this downtime, I've been doing more meditation. Like, um, I think we need it. I think we need to wake up. I think too many. Now people are talking to me about spirituality more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need it. Like you need. I don't like to say this, but I feel like you need suffering sometimes to like realize things and work through things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really think this is supposed to be a time that wake up, start noticing the things around you. And I mean, I personally feel like in good and bad ways, I see things a little bit differently now. Like there was people in my life that I'm like, oh yeah, they're family, they're nice, they're great. And then I talk to them or see them and I'm like, ooh, like I see this part about you that is toxic or not good, or that hasn't grown spiritually. And, I talk to other family members about it. There's still so many people that are just like, cool, if there's aliens, there's aliens. If there's an afterlife, there's an afterlife. Like, whatever. I don't care. But I think it's just in my personality to care and want to know. But yeah, I just feel like the veil is like kind of being lifted for some people right now. And then there's some people that don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think death and people dying is always going to make you kind of re-examine your life and like what motivates you and why you're doing the things you're doing. I mean, nothing wakes you up more than somebody dying.
It's what I always say, if it's not life or death, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Kind of. I'm more interested, real quick, I want to circle back to animal totems. How do we discover that about ourselves? I'm really curious because I've always kind of wondered. I go through different phases where I'm drawn to different animals, but I don't know that I've ever been able to find that one that I feel like is mine. How do you do that?
So, the three realms, the lower realm is working with animals. So, either I have journeys on my Instagram that you can use to work with your animal totem. Also, there's Michael Harner. He has on YouTube. He's like a famous journey shaman. You can listen to his journey, which is just a drum beat for like 10 minutes, and you kind of set the intention before you do it to connect to your animal totem, and you kind of visualize yourself going into the earth and with the intention of connecting to it. And usually somebody comes and talks to you. It's that simple, That's why I kind of also was always attracted to shamanism. Is I feel like it's anyone can like listen to a drum and meditate and have their own experience. Because with mediumship, it's really it's I'm communicating with the spiritual realm. I'm interpreting it, and then I'm giving it to you. So sometimes like there's not always that connection. Sometimes people don't. It doesn't work. Where like shamanism, you're having your own experience. You're listening to the beat. You have your own experience. I give my input still, but you have your own experience.
So for your mediumship, how do you usually tap into that? And are you getting anything on me or Sarah over here?
I get asked. Usually I just take a deep breath and I tell people that like the spiritual realm is always around us. They think some people think it's up or down, whatever. It's really you're expanding within your own aura and inviting anybody in to speak. I'll just ask if anyone wants to come through. I feel I'm not getting a strong connection, but I feel somebody for Sam. I feel a male in spirit. I don't feel him strongly. I'm trying to ask him to come forward more. Okay. I see a male with glasses. He shows me graying hair. I see him with a button, slacks, like khaki pants. I'm seeing like a blue and red flannel, but small squares on the flannel. I don't know. Sometimes when I say the clothes, I don't feel it strongly, but he's showing me himself with glasses, and for some reason he has his glasses like really low to his nose.
Probably my grandparents, yeah.
Feels like I was gonna say he feels like family. He feels quirky in his personality. I don't know. He feels like he's distant, but it's also like he's personality-wise. He feels like he's distant, but then it feels like he's like kidding. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. He's showing me like it's not a wheelbarrow, but it's like something with the lawn. Like he's doing his lawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the thing that spreads seed.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing me that for some reason.
Interesting. It might be my great grandfather actually that I obviously never met, but sometimes he pops up in readings, which is really interesting.
That would make sense to me because his personality feels like an older generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like he almost doesn't want to talk to me. That's what it feels like.
Rude.
No, but I mean, they keep their personality. So
yeah.
So he's showing me a picture of a young girl. He's showing me like a black and white picture of a young girl who looks like the first thing that comes to my mind is Pippi Longstocking. You know what Pippi Longstocking is?
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
He's showing me this girl in she looks like she has reddish hair, or like I don't know if it's the picture. It made me think of Pippi Longstockings, like that dress she used to wear, like the white up here and like that, like almost like a big white bow.
Yeah.
And it looks like a pink coloring on the dress.
Yeah, I think you're definitely tapping into like an older generation, but they do come into my readings sometimes, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm not really connected to them strongly.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. No, that's awesome. It's and you could just see it in your mind, like the apple, kind of how you
Yeah,
explained.
yeah.
So
Like you
interesting.
just,
Mm-hmm.
it depends how strongly it connects. You know, it's like a lot of times I feel so like if I'm connecting to them, and we're connected strong, I'll feel like on my body how he died,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like that. But I don't feel him that strong. Sorry.
No, that's all right. It's good. We like to tap in, we're selfish with our readings on the show, or at least I am. I always like to see who will come through, but I mean typically do the people that you pick up on, I mean, it takes a few months after someone's died, right, for you to really, or at least.
Yeah, I mean it depends. Like I said, when my aunt died, I felt her instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And she passed over, she was standing with me, and I could feel her shift. She was walking around with me, and it depends. I think it's also the willingness for spirit to want to communicate. It also means how they pass. If it's sudden or something that was like a surprise. Sometimes it takes them time to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an elderly person, sometimes they're ready to go. They already know they're going before they go.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll get like energetic visits before somebody passes to
Mm-hmm.
kind of tell me that they're gonna pass.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I mean people's energy is more multi-dimensional than you would imagine. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like even your family, your father, your mother, whoever. If you're having significant issues, they could be thinking about you, focusing their energy at you, and you could feel them around you. I mean, I feel them around me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Well, is there anything else, about your journey or anything that you're feeling that you want to share before we let you go, Pete?
Nothing, no, talking to you guys.
This has been so much
I
fun.
know it's been so great having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Yes.
you for having me.
Thank
Yeah,
you. And
absolutely.
Pete, where can everyone find you online?
I guess the best is Instagram, Peaceful Pathways 33, or I have a website, peacefulpathways.net, and that's it.
Awesome. And guys, just again, a reminder that if you give us a review on iTunes, take a screenshot of it, DM it to us, and we'll put you in line kind of to get a live reading on a future show. And you can follow our show, Spiritual Spiral, at Spiritual Spiral Show on Instagram, myself, Sam Davidson at SamD43, and Sari at The Savvy Scribbler. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Thanks.